Hey guys, welcome back to the Stuff of Legend. My name is D'Lo, and I have some movie. Well, it's not really news. It's kind of like anti-news. It's kind of like fact checking the news and making sure that stuff is as it should be. Now, today when I was at work, I got blasted. A bunch of my friends, because they know who I am, they texted me all this stuff about Henry Cavill is no longer Superman or no longer Man of Steel, and he's out of the DCEU. And I said, wait, hold up, what is going on? Why? And they forwarded me the link from Hollywood Reporter. And I was watching John Campea. I tuned in really there on my lunch break, and I was like, okay, yeah, cool. Let me just check this out. I tuned in, and he was talking about it as well. And it's very interesting. Everyone seems to be running with the idea that he's out already. This is not a fact. This is rumor, and it's coming from a source that has been notoriously pretty reliable. The Hollywood Reporter, they're big time. You know, they're not known for running, garbage, puff pieces or they're not. They're legit. They're usually pretty legit, but this one does not appear to be. So what I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to break this down and I'm going to explain to you why I personally believe that Henry Cavill is not out yet. He could be out in the future. I don't think he is now. And I think that this rumor has gotten blown way out of proportion. So I'm going to start like this. I'm going to show you guys the article. I'm going to open it up. Actually, I'm not going to show it to you. I'm going to read it to you. All right, so let me see. All right, here we go. All right, so the article from the Hollywood Reporter says Henry Cavill out as Superman amid Warner Bros. DC Universe shakeup, and it says exclusive. And it's got a picture of him. It's like a Photoshop of him with the Day of the Dead, and it's like scissors cutting him out of the picture, cutting Henry Cavill's head off of the shoulders and cape of Superman. So as in to say that they're going to recast. Now, in the article, it says talks broke down for a cameo in Shazam due to scheduling conflicts, and the door is now closing on other potential appearances for the actor. The DC cinematic universe appears to be losing its Man of Steel. Henry Cavill, who also played Superman in these 3 films, is parting ways with Warner Brothers, sources tell the Hollywood Reporter. It says sources. It does not say who it is. And this is important, guys. We don't know we don't know where this source is coming from. It talks about later. I'll mention this down at the bottom or somewhere here. It says that sources at the studio, sources at Warner Brothers, talking about where this person. Let me go up to the top so I can get the name. Tatiana Siegel, Siegel, I think it is. Tatiana Siegel and Boris Kitt. They have their sources at Warner Bros. These guys are big time. They probably do have sources. However, we don't know who these sources are. It could be a janitor. It could be, somebody on set. It could be someone who maybe got fired from Warner Bros. We don't know what the story is here, and they're not telling us. And this is important. Obviously, that they probably can't say a whole lot. They don't want to obviously out their source. That's fine. But people are taking this as gospel and running with it. And everyone's already, saying like, dude, DC's falling apart and this and that. And it's like, okay, there could be some truth to that. But for the reason of, Man of Steel no longer being part of the DCEU, we don't even know that's true. Let me continue here. It says Henry Cavill, who played Superman in 3 films, is parting ways with Warner Bros. Sources tell the Hollywood Reporter. Sources. The British actor who first donned the blue suit for 2013's Man of Steel and then starred in 2016's Batman vs. Superman and last year's Justice League is said to be hanging up the red cape. It says Warner's had been trying to enlist Cavill, who most recently co-starred in Mission Impossible Fallout, for a Superman cameo in Shazam, which would have been dope, which stars Zachary Levi, who will bow April 5th. But contract talks between Cavill's WME reps and Warner Bros. Broke down, which means the contract negotiations fell through. It didn't work out. It didn't pan out. And the door is now closing on other potential Superman appearances. That's because the studio has shifted its focus to a Supergirl movie, which will be an origin story featuring a teenage heroine. This effectively removes an actor of Cavill's age from the storyline equation, given that Superman, aka Kal-El, would be an infant according to DC lore. Hold on. So before I continue, I want to just make this point really quick. They're saying that Warner Bros. And DC has recently announced that they're doing a Supergirl movie. This is cool news. It's a cool character. It's fun. Great stories you could tell there. A lot of really good villains that are shared with other DC villains. You could pull. You could do a number of different things with this movie. It'd be really fun. Now, the idea that just because Supergirl is a teen, that you can't have Henry Cavill in the movie, that's hogwash. That does not pan out, because these people don't understand the story of Supergirl. She was stuck and frozen in her pod. Her pod didn't release for a very long time. So even though, yes, she's approximately like 13 or so years older than Clark, technically speaking, he matures to a full man by the time she's released from her pod, and she's a teenager. It's kind of like Avatar: The Last Airbender. He's 110 years old technically, but he's a 10-year-old boy because he was frozen in ice. It's the same idea. He wakes up after a long period of time. The world is not what he thought it was, and it's no longer the way it was back then. And it's changed so much, but he's the same because he was frozen, literally frozen. And when he gets thawed out, he's alive. He's the Avatar. He's got to go on this big adventure. And the people he once knew way back when, like King Boomy, who was his best friend when he was little, is now 100 and whatever year old man. He's the king of the Earth Nation, but he has these awesome adventures and discovers that some of these people are still around. They're way older than him, technically speaking, because he's still in the body of a kid, in the mind of a kid, because he was frozen. And this is what happens with Supergirl. So you could have a teenage, like they say here, the Supergirl movie, which will be an origin story featuring a teenage superheroine. This fits. When she comes to Earth, she's a teenager. Even though like 30 years or so pass while she's frozen on Earth, her pod stays locked. She's in this cryo chamber, basically. She does not mature. She stays that teenage girl. Clark grows up to be Superman. He's saving the world. He's doing his thing, flying around. He's a man now, thinking he's the only Kryptonian out there, other than maybe like a few enemies like Zod. And then her pod opens up, and she gets released to the world, and she's Supergirl. And she's still in that teenage body, teenage kind of mind, and she's got a lot of learning and growing to do. She's technically older than Clark and Kal-El, but it's not the same. And so when these people are saying, the Hollywood Reporter is talking about using the Supergirl movie as leverage to say that Henry Cavill's out as Superman because it doesn't fit, I'm sorry, you're wrong. An origin story for Supergirl does, in fact, fit and center around Clark, not just being a baby, but when she gets to Earth, there is a lot of they're not the origin story of Supergirl does not remain on Krypton. That is such a small fragment of her story. She's going to come to Earth. She's going to have to deal with waking up on Earth as a teenager, despite the fact that, she's looking for Clark, and he's not this baby anymore. He's basically a god on Earth. And he's already grown up. She doesn't have a purpose. Like, she feels like she doesn't have a purpose because she was sent to care for, this child, look after her cousin. She wasn't able to do that. And now she's kind of in this place. Her world's destroyed. What do I do? Now, Superman kind of guides her and teaches her how to be a hero, and she does. She becomes Supergirl, and it's wonderful. So I don't know if they'll stick to that story. They'll probably do something a little bit more like a little bit more like feminist movement, where it's like, I don't need you, Clark. You don't need to teach me that kind of stuff, which would be, I think, in my opinion, kind of dumb. I hope that they do actually lean into, using Henry Cavill as like a platform to like launch off another really great superhero. That'd be really cool. Give him like a mentorship role. That'd be sweet. And then have him connect to another Kryptonian other than Zod. That would play in really well as a Man of Steel 2 is launching into Supergirl. That'd be really cool. I'm sure there's dozens and dozens of other options for Man of Steel 2 if they were to do that. But a lot of people are thinking like, wow, they're pushing Man of Steel 2 further and further away. It's looking like there's no opportunities here for Henry Cavill to show up. And this is where people are getting frustrated and starting to think he's not coming at all. I think he's out of the universe because they're seeing if there's no cameo for Superman in Shazam, where else are they going to fit him? Like, where else does he fit? There's no like Justice League 2 coming soon. There's no, like they're looking for soon opportunities. They're looking for here and now. And if that doesn't happen, they're worried that it's just all going to get rebooted. And this is you don't have to worry too much. Like if you want, like it does make sense. They might cut him just because they might be going in a different direction, but I don't think that's where they're going. Superman, Henry Cavill as Man of Steel was I think in my opinion, the best part of the DCEU. Wonder Woman was a close second. I really enjoyed Ben Affleck's Batman. I didn't really like. I had fun watching all the DC films. I didn't like how Justice League and BVS like ended. Both of them had kind of a really weak ending. But I liked where they started. I liked where they were going with it. And there was a lot of fun there. A lot of great things happening. I'm excited for what's to come with the DCEU. And it does not look to me where I'm sitting, how I think about this situation, that makes any sense. So like, I'm not trying to just fully discredit what they're saying here in the article, because there are some points that do make sense. But I wanted to point out that this argument for Supergirl is not valid. In fact, the fact that there's a Supergirl movie is more evidence to me that there is more opportunity for Henry Cavill to stay inside of the DCEU and have a platform to continue acting. That it doesn't. It's literally the opposite of what they're saying here for this part. But I'm going to continue on with the article. So here below that part, they say, furthermore, Warner's isn't likely to make a solo Superman film for at least several years, which is true, according to another source. Actually, they basically said that by saying they're going to push Man of Steel 2 out further and further, and it's kind of in this undetermined zone of like 4 or 5 years out, which that's true. But that doesn't mean it's not happening. It means they don't have current plans for that right now, because they're trying to. Walter Hamada is doing a great thing here. He's saying there's so many more characters in the DC universe other than Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman. Let's tell some of those stories and get some fresh perspective, because Marvel's killing it doing that. Look at Guardians of the Galaxy. Look at Thor. Iron Man was a B-list hero. I mean, he was powerful, but he was not one of the primary. There was like Spider-Man, there's the X-Men, there's a Fantastic Four, then there's a handful of others, and then you have Iron Man in this second tier of notable heroes. He was not one of the biggest ones. Hulk was bigger than him by a long shot, and I don't mean in size, even though he is. I mean in notoriety and recognition, fame, purchasing. His comics were sold less than most other of the heroes we know now, but the movie killed it because they took a risk and they told a story that was not so familiar. And so that was something that they did right. And DC, Walter Hamada came in and said, look, we're gonna start doing other things. That's why we're getting a lot more attention on things like Supergirl. Supergirl movie being announced is a bold move, but it's also, I think, a good move. I think that's a really great idea. That would be really nice. And it gives confidence to the fact that the new leadership of DC does not give a rip whether or not there's characters on the TV or on the movie, because they're separate. And then it's okay to have Supergirl here and Supergirl here because they're separate, and everybody knows that. You're going to know when you see the different actresses. And same with Cyborg on Doom Patrol, and then also having him in the Justice League. Same with Superman on Supergirl, and then also Henry Cavill, who we're talking about in the theme of this episode. So, you get the point. But the new leadership is doing things right. I don't think they're going to do anything to Henry Cavill at this state. But I'm going to continue on. So let me see where we were. We were saying, because the shift. Furthermore, Warner Bros. Henry Cavill. It says Warner Bros. Isn't likely to make another solo Superman film for several years, according to another source, which I believe is totally true. We know that to be true, actually. Superman is like James. This is what they say in a quote. Superman is like James Bond. And after a certain run, you have to look at new actors, says a studio source, an unnamed studio source. We don't know who this is. Somebody at the studio. It could be a higher up. It could be Walter Hamada himself. It could be Jeff. Well, Jeff Johns is he's got his own production studio, but he's in affiliation, I guess. It could be any of these names. It could also be a janitor. It could also be a receptionist. We don't know. And so it just says a source at the studio. Okay. So try to keep that in mind. It's not like this is the end of the road. And what they're saying is that actors can be replaced if necessary. They're not saying he's being replaced. They're saying he could be replaced. So this is another speculation, assumption. It's somebody's theory about what could be happening. Essentially, it's a movie theory and casting theory. And so then it says a studio source. As such, Cavill will join Ben Affleck. I said Batfleck. Ben Affleck, yes, Batfleck, who isn't expected to reprise his role for director Matt Reeves' forthcoming Batman standalone film as a hero on the way out. So they're saying that Ben Affleck is not expected to reprise his role for Matt Reeves' standalone Batman film. And this one's not in quotations. So this one I believe is the Hollywood Reporter talking about this, and they've already gotten a couple of things. They're making wild assumptions based on rumors, based on people at the studio talking, which if it's the studio and if it is people who make decisions, this is a very, it's got a lot of weight to it. We can probably start to make these assumptions. That's why the internet's blowing up right now about this whole thing, is because they're saying their sources are at the studio. Problem is we don't know who it is, and there's no definite. There's no word from Warner Brothers as of yet. There might, who knows? Maybe there is while I'm doing this live stream. We don't know. But if there is, you guys let me know down below. But please put links and cite this stuff, because if you're just saying, yeah, I know they said it, well, they doesn't mean anything. I want to know if it's who said it. Did Walter say it? If Walter said it, that's a pretty good source. And if you can quote him on that, then let's talk. You know what I mean? Or anybody. I'm willing to have this discussion. It's just I want to make sure that we're looking at all these points and not getting way in over our heads with rumors. Okay, so that's another thing. So then comparing Superman to James Bond, there could be dozens of actors that play him. Yeah, we know this. This is like it's happened already. There's been a lot of actors have played Superman over the years. Christopher Reeves. You've got Brandon Routh. You've got Tom Welling. There's a number of different guys that have played him, and Dean Cain even played him, but a little different. Same with Tom Welling, a little bit different, but it's great. Great nonetheless. And but Henry Cavill, in my opinion, the best one. Tom Welling, I think is the next one in my opinion. Is probably in that order. It's probably Henry Cavill, Tom Welling, and then Christopher Reeves, then probably Brandon Routh. Nothing against Brandon Routh. And Dean Cain. That's a good question. Is it Dean Cain or the Brandon Routh? I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Let's continue on. We have a great relationship with so this is another quote from their anonymous source from the studio. It says, "We have a great relationship and great respect for Henry Cavill that continues to remain unchanged. Continues to remain unchanged. Additionally, we have made no current decisions regarding any upcoming Superman films. And then it says, read a statement from a Warner Bros. Spokesperson after the initial publication of this story." So basically, after this story was published, Warner Bros. Spokesperson came out and said, "We have a good relationship with Henry Cavill. No, nothing has changed. We've made no current decisions regarding any upcoming Superman films," which means what was there is there. We haven't changed anything. That's basically it. We love Henry Cavill. Nothing's changed. They're saying nothing's changed, essentially. And so where this is all stemming from is worry. People are seeing, a couple of things, some, delayed like plans for Man of Steel 2, or nothing on the slate so far. No tangible plans for Man of Steel 2, just the desires out there, and eventually they'll get to it. And this is kind of like what's happening right now is people are freaking out. So continuing on, a Warner source says the Shazam deal fell apart because of schedule conflicts, which makes sense. Henry Cavill's cast as the Witcher. He's also going to be there's some rumors out there, again rumors, but he's very, very likely going to take over for Daniel Craig as the next James Bond, which is cool. That's really good news, especially for Henry Cavill. But that doesn't mean that it's not. That doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. What it means is that he's really busy. He doesn't have the time to go and shoot the Shazam thing. And there was negotiations about how much money he wants for it. And they probably just decided, you know what, it's not worth it right now to try to hassle the entire crew to get together and shoot this bonus scene or whatever. So this is what they're saying is basically it fell apart because of conflict, and then it backed up by the fact that Cavill recently signed on to star the Netflix series The Witcher. This is what I just mentioned. However, another source says that the Witcher commitment came after the Warner Bros. Impasse. So this is a different source, not the one that just shared that info, but a different source that they're not naming again, suggested that the change was just in Warner Bros. Strategy and it had nothing to do with the schedule conflicts. So again, that's a different source. They're not quoting who the source is, and we just we're eating these rumors. That's essentially what it is. It's all rumors, guys. There's no like proof. These are quotes from anonymous sources. I don't want to paint the Hollywood Reporter as someone that, or a group that does not respect the truth or any of that, because they're highly reputable, right? I get news from these guys all the time. But in this particular article, the entire thing is weighed upon speculation and rumor and what ifs. And because this happened, I think that this is happening. And then here's why they give their reasons. But a number of them don't really pan out. A number of them do, which is why there's so many people buzzing about this. Now, to continue on, it says, there is another quote. There's a recognition that some parts of the previous movies didn't work, says the studio insider. Another source, a different source, says Warner's is trying to hit the reset button with the DC universe, steering its ship slowly into another direction. So, to me, what this says is that I already see. I've been calling this as a wonderful thing. I've really appreciated what Walter Mata has already done in the DC universe and in DC TV, what he's allowed them to do, opening up some more doors for freedom. I've seen this happening, especially with the content that's coming onto the DC universe streaming service. I'm really excited to get that and watch the Titans show, and then also all the other things that are going to come to that service. I'm going to watch, which will be really fun. There's a lot of talk about all that, but I'm really grateful for what I've seen, the changes happening, and it shows that Walter Hamada really genuinely wants to make some good stuff, make some great products, and really cater to the fans. So it's not just like I want to make a bunch of money in the overwhelming masses of the crowds, which he does, and which is fine. That's not bad. But what he genuinely cares about making good comic book stuff, because he knows that that's the majority of the people who are going to spend the money on it. And they're going to buy the t-shirts, and they're going to buy the toys, and they're going to buy the posters and the pops and everything that you could possibly spend money on. You will, if it's good content. And so he wants to make sure that it's good. That's why he put Jeff Johns back in the creative seat. That's why he's got him working on Green Lantern. That's why things have been shaken up. He's going to put out a Supergirl movie. He's allowing there to be both TV and movie actors playing those characters in different universes. That's fine. That's perfect. And that's what we want. And with that being said, they are hitting a reset button, but it doesn't mean recasting. That's part of it. Is they're opening up new doors so that there can be standalone films such as Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. And there can be those options in addition to the DCEU, but they're also allowing the DCEU to be fun. Look at Shazam. Look at Aquaman. They're allowing humor back into places where it's warm and welcome to have humor, and it would be totally appropriate to have humor. In places like a Batman film, you can have a quip or two. It's not going to kill anybody. Even The Dark Knight had jokes, but it's not a jokey tone. And they're not actually going for the Dark Knight, but they're going to keep it close to the Batman feel. They're going to keep it close to what it's supposed to feel like. And so that, I think, is important to know where comedy is supposed to be. Like if you have a Green Lantern movie and he's not sassy and sarcastic, you're going to have a bad time. It's not going to feel like the Green Lantern. If you have a Flash movie and he's not quipping back and forth like almost as much as Spider-Man, I'm going to have a bad time. That's going to be lame. I mean, it could be a good movie, but it's not going to feel like the Flash, especially not, Wally West is much more quippy than Barry Allen, which is fine, but they've already kind of showed that they want to make their Barry Allen more funny. Sorry, I keep hitting my mic. I'm sorry, guys. Anyway, they are hitting the reset button. I do believe that when this source is saying that Warner is trying to hit the reset button with the DC universe and steer the ship into another direction slowly, I think they're being honest. I think that's a genuine quote. I believe that they're well informed, but I think that they're doing that without rebooting. That's part of what my thoughts are there. It doesn't mean that Henry Cavill's out. So I don't think that doesn't necessarily support the fact that or the claim that Henry Cavill is out. Now, it could. I'm not saying that that's not a possibility. What I'm saying is that I don't think that this argument really supports the idea of Henry Cavill being out as much as they think it does. So here we go. Let me go to the next part. So while Affleck and Cavill are segueing out, who were seen together? Oh, they were both seen together on screen in Justice League and are carrying forward. Gal Gadot is returning for Wonder Woman 1984 to hit theaters November 19th. Jason Momoa headlines a solo Aquaman movie this December. Ezra Miller remains on board to star in a Flash movie, which is due to shoot early 2019. I think it's funny they're not calling it Flashpoint here. I'll have to check in on that because I thought it was supposed to be Flashpoint. Anyway, Warner Bros. CEO Kevin Sugihara and chairman of Warner Brothers Pictures Group, Toby Emmerich, are looking to reinvigorate the studio's DC universe, which, by the way, I mentioned earlier. They are reinvigorating it. It is reinvigorated. It's coming alive. We're gonna be able to see the fruit of that come December with Aquaman, and then again with Shazam. I'm sorry. I thought they had the. I thought I had the date up here for that one, but whatever. Anyway, Shazam, Flash, Wonder Woman 2. It's all looking really good. So continuing on, it says reinvigorate the studio's DC universe, which is still playing second fiddle to the Marvel universe in terms of box office and critical acclaim, which doesn't matter. They're still going to keep going. Just 6 years ago, when The Dark Knight Rises closed out the Christopher Nolan trilogy, DC was the superhero team with the mojo. But so far, only Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman spinoff has lived up to the promise of the franchise. That's arguable. Man of Steel was awesome. It was divided a little bit. I don't know that fans were ready for that kind of a slightly more serious, darker take on Superman, but I thought it was perfect. I thought it was as stoic as Superman always has been. I mean, normally he's a little bit more bright and sunshiny, but it captured the stoicness and how much it means to him to save people, to be a hero, to be a force for good in this dark world. I thought they captured that well. And it was one of my favorites still to this day. What next on the thing they say, what Warner's hasn't done is wipe the slate clean in one fell swoop. They're talking about a full-on reboot. Something that is nigh impossible to do given the years of planning that goes into these films. When asked about the studio September 6th at an investor conference, new Warner Media CEO John Stankey said, "Hats off to Kevin and Toby and their team." But he also took a shot at DC. And they quote him here, "Some of our franchises, in particular at DC, we all think we can do better." Now, he's not wrong. They can do some of these things better. Like a lot of the team up films, they were lacking a little bit in a number of ways. I had a lot of fun with them, but there's obviously stuff they can do better. But they've already made moves. Walter Hamada has already done his shaking up. He's already hit the reset button and put Jeff Johns back in the production seat, in the creative seat, to help on set and in the writer's room to make sure that stories are being told in a good way. That's what he does. Jeff Johns is responsible for Rebirth Comics. I mean, DC's Rebirth, he was the one that did that to fix the problems in the New 52. That was his thing. He sat down and for hours for every single character and figured out, okay, what is the crux of this person? What is their powers? How do we highlight how this person is important in the universe? What's their arch enemy? Who are their what are their relationships like? What's their relationship with their family, with their friends, with their colleagues, enemies on the street, with the police, with the military? He got deep into these guys and wrote wonderful stories. The Rebirth comics are some of the best ones we've ever had. Marvel or DC, they're very, very good. And so that's where they end the quote, the article here. And so to me, I'm going to go back to my notes here. There's 3 reasons particularly why I believe that this is not a real case for Henry Cavill being out as Superman. Number 1, the busy schedule doesn't really pan out. Because Man of Steel 2 was not even scheduled to be around for years already. And so he has time to literally to do The Witcher and the next James Bond probably by the time they'll start shooting on Man of Steel 2. If that's where they're going to land it, they might even move it back a little more, which sounds frustrating, but they have a lot of wonderful projects in the meantime. Now, they could use Superman almost like a kind of how they were doing Batman in the BVS and the Justice League, where he starts approaching people. He's kind of this mentor figure. I think that would actually, like, it sounds good as Batman, but I think Superman would honestly be the better cameo. Like if you had Green Lantern Corps and it comes out and it's awesome, and then all of a sudden, you like at the end of the film, they're out in space, they're doing their thing, they've just won some giant battle, and then all of a sudden you see this, like, someone's coming, and then like you see Hal or Jon Stewart or whoever's there, and it's Superman, and he comes and he's like, we're gonna need your help, like something like that. You could have him be this symbol of hope that is recruiting people for some other major event. Like, I think that would be really appropriate, especially for the outer space people. It'd be really hard to get Batman to recruit people from outer space. Now, I don't think that his busy schedule is a really good reason for why we should think he's out. I don't think that pans out. Just because he isn't able to do the cameo in Shazam doesn't mean a whole lot, because they're not even letting Black Adam do that. So I don't think that's really cause for concern. Anyway, the next one is the Supergirl Superman age thing, the dilemma that I explained earlier. That's definitely not a case for why Superman is out. They're not replacing Superman with Supergirl. They're adding Supergirl. You don't have to not have one to the other. It's not some war against men versus women or what. That's not a thing. So like they both exist in the same universe. It's going to be really fun, and Superman would actually benefit to be in that film. That would be Supergirl would benefit to have Superman as a man, not just as a baby, but as a man in that story, because that's her origin. Her origin isn't so much the departure of Krypton. It's what happens during the departure and after the departure that shapes her entire story, her entire future. And at that point, she's frozen. So Henry Cavill grows up. He becomes Henry Cavill. And then then they have their adventure together. He does a little bit of mentoring, but then she does her own thing, and it's cool. It gets to be that. So that's actually the opposite. I think that's evidence that he is still necessary in this universe. And there will be opportunity for him to be on screen, despite the fact that it's not his own movie, which is not a problem. It's a bummer because we want to see more of him, but it's not a problem. Now, the last thing I wanted to bring up, this is something that I'm sorry, John Campea, the great John Campea, he brought this up. So I didn't know this. I watched his thing, and this is him. So this is not my thinking, but this makes a lot of sense. And this is more proof than anything we got inside of this article from the Hollywood Reporter. More proof than any of that is that we have Dany Garcia, who is Henry Cavill's manager, I believe. And Henry Cavill, I don't believe he has a Twitter, but she does. Dany Garcia, she's a manager, and she says, this is what she said in response to this whole debacle. She says, "Be peaceful. The cape is still in his closet," referring to Henry Cavill. WB Pictures, which is Warner Brothers, has been and continues to be our partners as they evolve the DC universe. Anticipate a Warner Brothers statement later today. So I'm hoping that we're going to get that statement later today. I'll probably tweet that out. I'll probably put that on my Instagram. If we get that, then that'll bring a lot of clarity to this. But we have not heard from Warner Brothers. This Hollywood Reporter statement does not, or the article does not cite any direct statements from Warner Brothers that support this. It's all theory. It's all speculation. And it's rumors. That's what it is. And until we know who said what, because all of her sources were anonymous, unless she was quoting old stuff. This, to me, it's not a case for Henry Cavill being out. And frankly, until I hear it from Warner Brothers, he's not out. That's what it is. His manager is saying this. Warner Brothers has made no official statements, and the only thing remotely close to like why he would be out would be if actually, yeah, you'd literally have to just hear it from the studio. And if he is out, you will, for a fact, hear it from the studio, but he's not out yet. And so if we hear that, then okay, that's fine. That means everything that the Hollywood Reporter said from their sources was accurate. That means their sources are legit, and I believe that they have legit sources. But I also believe that the quotes they were receiving from their sources don't necessarily mean that he's going to be fired or recast, or they're moving on from him, because they're not talking about rebooting the DCEU either. They're continuing on with these same characters, the same actors. It doesn't mean you can't recast him, but everyone, I think the moral of this one is just, let's all take a chill pill, let's relax, let's talk about this, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's wait for Warner Brothers to make a statement. Surely they will very soon. And I think until then, we can wait. I have confidence. I'm more than willing to be wrong on this, but I have confidence that this is not what's happening. I don't think that Henry Cavill is out. I think that even a little minor schedule conflict is not going to be a big deal because they didn't have a whole lot of plans for him anyway. At most, it'll be a scene here, a scene there in some of the upcoming films. And yeah, so that's my thoughts. This was kind of a longer video, but I appreciate you guys checking in and doing that. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this. Do you guys hear what I'm saying? Does it make any sense? Am I a little crazy? Am I just a fanboy? Like, what's happening here? I want to hear your thoughts on this. Please, if you have any further information, or if Warner Brothers did make an official statement, please leave a link for me to either a tweet or whatever it is that you're citing or quoting. I want to see those things very badly, because this is very interesting to me. I don't want to be right just to be right. I want to know the truth. And so that's why I made this video, was because these things don't necessarily mean he's out. So let's all keep our heads on. You know what I mean? So thank you guys so much for watching. This has been a really invigorating, exciting episode of The Stuff of Legend. Let me know down in the comments if you guys agree or disagree, or what you think. Leave a like, please. Make sure to leave a comment. Oh, I have one. Henry. Oh, there we go. Someone in the chat. Caleb Richardson says Henry Cavill just posted an Instagram video debunking the rumor. Ah, hang on. Before I go, I'm glad I stuck around for that. Instagram.com. Let me see if I can pull this up really quick while I'm here. Hey, oh, here we go. I'm going to see if I can get this. He's got a shirt that says Krypton Lifting Team. He's holding up a toy. It's a Man of Steel toy. Very slowly, very stoic. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay, so this was really interesting. Wow. Thank you so much for letting me know about that, Caleb Richardson. I really appreciate that. But here on the Instagram, before I go, I'm going to let you guys know, Henry Cavill, he posted this video of him. He's doing this. And then he slowly raises a toy of him as Man of Steel into the image. He's wearing his Krypton Lifting Team shirt. And his thing says, "Today was exciting," with a hashtag Superman, which means, there was a ton of buzz about him. He probably got berated with questions all day. And he's basically saying, "I am Superman." That doesn't mean that he will be forever, but I think this is an act of confidence, saying, "Hey guys, I'm still Superman." At least for the time being, we can all keep our shirts on and calm down for a minute. I'm really glad that this happened during the live stream. I was about to end the video. So, wow, this is so cool. He said, Caleb Richardson says, it's a video of him holding a Superman action figure with the Superman theme with a sticky note on the number. Oh, hey. Yeah. There was a sticky note on the toy that says the number 2 on it. He's low-key just announced Man of Steel 2. Warner Bros. Made him edit the video, so it's a little different. Wait, hold on. I want to see. I'm gonna watch it again. I'll turn the volume down a hair. So Caleb, I actually don't see the sticky note with the number 2 on it. If you say that he had to edit the video, that's fine. But until I see the original, I can't advocate for that because you know, I haven't seen it. But this there is something on there, a sticker. Oh gosh, I wish I could read it. Jeez. It looks like a dude running, actually. But it almost looks like Black Panther, but that's a DC thing, so they wouldn't have a Marvel thing on there. Anyway, yeah, so I'll have to look around for that, but this video's gotten 40 minutes. I appreciate you guys sticking around. I haven't made a long video like this in a very long time, but wow, this is really good. So anyway, I think that we're safe to say that Henry Cavill's not going anywhere. I'm really glad that I made this video before that thing came out. That's cool. And you guys rock. Hang on to your hats. I think there's plenty more awesome Superman action to come. Walter Hamada's not a jerk, guys. He's turning this ship around for the better. And honestly, I've loved everything I've seen from him with the news and where they're going with this. It seems to be that his manager, Dany Garcia, and Henry Cavill are both now advocating for the fact that nothing's changed and everything is as it should be. They have great relations with Warner Brothers and there's nothing to worry about. So be peaceful, as Dany Garcia says. Relax. They've got this, and I think it's going to be great. I think that the Hollywood Reporter, you know, took a bunch of rumors and was rolling with it for the clicks, and yeah, I think the whole world bought into it for a second. I'm glad that I did not, though. Not to toot my own horn, but you know, I'm here for you guys. I want to make sure that we're looking at everything analytically with critical thinking, and whether it's one way or another, it's not about being right. It's about finding the truth. You know what I mean? And so. Thanks, guys. Keep me posted. Make sure to leave any comments down below. If you guys find anything else, Caleb Richardson, you rock. Greatly appreciate your participation in this live stream. You're the man. And have a great rest of your day, guys. God bless. I'll see you guys next time right here on The Stuff of Legend.